Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Designed to Heal. I am Whitney, and today I am joined by my lovely guest, Rachel Gofman, who is a pelvic pain coach and has been coaching in the mind-body industry for a few years now, right? Couple
Yep.
years?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Probably 5 or yeah, 5.
Wow, yeah, time
Yeah.
flies.
I know.
Uh, anyway, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks,
And
Whitney.
today we're going to dive into something I'm really excited to talk about, which is what happens as you recover and then you start helping other people recover and what that whole journey is like, because it's a common trajectory in this space where people heal and then they want to scream it from the rooftops that this work works and they want to help other people too. I always call it Healing 2.0. So anyway, welcome, Rachel.
Well, thank you so much, Whitney, for having me. I'm so happy to be here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rachel Gofman. I am a doctor of physical therapy and pelvic pain coach, and I help women heal with their chronic pelvic pain through a mind-body approach. And I was very much inspired by Whitney and her journey when I was on my own journey. So it is always surreal to be kind of sitting in this side of the
Kind of full
of
circle.
the street. Yes, little full
Yeah.
circle moment. Exactly. So again, my healing journey very much is 100% the reason I do the work that I do. And I am also excited to talk about what happens after you heal? What does life look like on the other side of healing from the thing you've been working so hard to heal at? And then y- helping other people in this space, what does that kind of require of you? Um, with this new lens and the kind of skills and realizations that you've kind of gleaned on your healing journey.
So when did you start pivoting towards becoming a coach, and I mean, did it feel kind of like a calling, like you're just like, this is where I need to go?
Yeah. So my very first year working as a physical therapist, it was 2020.
Wow.
Um, I graduated PT school in 2020 and started working in September of that year in a clinic. And I always knew I was doing pelvic PT. Of course, my own symptoms led me down that direction. But I was like, oh, I'm just going to heal myself and then
Mhm.
help people with pelvic PT. And as I was seeing patients in the clinic and they were presenting with exactly the same symptoms that I was having, and I was just instructing them to help relax their pelvic floor, I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, just out of integrity, just not true. Just I'm
Yeah.
really leaving out so much of the work I was doing. And I, at that point, was 95% pain free. I wasn't fully healed yet when I
Mhm.
first started working in the clinic. But I was most of my resolution of symptoms did not come from working on relaxing my pelvic floor. It came from the mind body work.
Mm.
And so slowly but surely, I started dipping my toe into telling patients, hey, I'm just sharing a little bit about me and my experience, and I really think this will help you.
Mm.
And so I started giving links to Nicole Sachs' podcast, Dan Buglio's YouTube channel, to books, to Curable, handing out resources. Because at the time where I was working, it was 20-minute sessions, back to back to back,
Mm.
as in not 20-minute sessions, but I saw them for 20 minutes one to one. And so I didn't have time to delve into the story and explain everything.
Yeah.
And that really was hard for me, genuinely. I was like, oh my God, this is killing me to not give them everything in this session. But I had to work within the constructs of our healthcare system, which is a whole bigger
Yeah.
discussion. And so I was really just giving resources and people were getting better. And I was like, oh, amazing. But as I was doing that, I was like, the work that I'm doing in the clinic with them is not the best way for me to help them.
Yeah.
Genuinely, it's not. Right.
Yeah.
And so I started taking more coursework from physical therapists who are actually in the mind body space. So there is a company in Canada called Reframe Rehab. I took all of their courses and they do a biopsychosocial approach. And I was still kind of tiptoeing, right? Kind of between the line of PT mind body. And then I took the class with Dr. Schubner and Charlie Merrill, who really fully helped me understand oh, I could practice this way, as a clinician. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's the connection piece that I
Mm.
really needed.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so after that, I was like, okay, I'm actually going to do this. Like, I'm actually going to pivot the way that I practice. Now, I wasn't ready to go all into my own business. I have a lot of like security and safety stuff. We can talk about that. But I really had to wean myself out of the traditional model for years, and have like a little bit more time, a little bit more time, a little bit more time in my own business with clients. But by the end of it, no matter where I was, whether in the clinic or in my own business, I was practicing the same way. I could not pretend that like just relaxing your muscles was going to be the solution. I could not pretend there wasn't more to the, can I swear on this?
Yes.
More to the fucking story.
Yeah.
And I was like, again, I'll say this over and over. I think one of the biggest things that I gleaned from my own healing journey was I cannot live out of integrity with what's true.
Yeah.
And and if I try, and I don't even want to try, but if I try, and I tried in the beginning, I will get symptoms. I am not immune to this, right? And so I really think about it as a check engine light of like, are you living in your
Mm.
truth?
Mhm.
Are you doing what you know is good and true for where you
Mhm.
are actually in your belief in like
Mhm.
integrity?
Mhm.
And so, like, slowly but surely, I help myself kind of expand my capacity to take little bit of risks here and there, until now I am fully full-time in my business and serving clients to the exact way that I believe they should be served.
Amazing.
And I'm so grateful to be where I am now.
Amazing. Oh, I love
Yeah.
that so much. And it's so true. There's stuff you're talking about that I want to like kind of share a little bit how I relate because, when I had my design business, and I was kind of forced to quit like going into an office because of the pain, because of the
Yeah.
pelvic pain that I was
Yeah.
having at the time. And so I pivoted and I started my own design business, but I was actually taking any kind of client I could because I was just like, like I'm on my own here. I need to just help whoever I can help. And I remember I got this referral and it was a medical professional, and it was people who do like autoimmune, a rheumatologist. Yeah,
Rheumatologist.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they got referred to me, and they had this huge like training deck that they wanted me to design, and it was like this PowerPoint that was all about it was all about these chronic conditions, and I'm sitting here like designing this deck, and everything that they were saying was so not the truth, and so as I was designing that, I remember thinking like I was getting angry. I was
Mhm.
literally designing and like watching these slides come up with like all of this information that was just putting fear into people, like really pathologizing their symptoms, making it feel like there was something going on with the body that was wrong. And I was like, I ethically like can't do this. Like I just can't. Like I need the money. So there's this inner conflict that was starting in me. And I remember I ended up having like a fibromyalgia flare. And that was like one of the first times I started getting that symptom. And it's because
Classic.
I was like
Classic.
designing about it and I'm like learning, and it's like telling me all this fearful stuff about it. And then I start getting these symptoms. And I was like, I mean, if that wasn't evidence of everything I'd learned to be so true, and I actually ended up, and I had never done this before, but I completely suspended the project. I just ethically can't do this. I was not aligned, and any kind of work that's gonna kind of be in conflict with that, even like the corporate working environment. This is also in conflict with everything I've learned because the culture there, the pressure and like the perfectionism that's being pushed on people in the corporate world, the people pleasing, the unrealistic expectations, like the total lack of nervous system knowledge. I was like, I can't even work in that world again.
I completely understand and absolutely resonate with that. I think there's an element of like suppression is required,
Mhm.
masking is required, fawning is required, right? To create safety and sustain safety. And there's this element of like, because I pay you, I own you.
Yeah.
And like, how unsafe is that? And
No.
I think back to like my first like corporate PT setting, and I'd be literally crying in my clinical director's office like every week, and he had no idea what to do with me, which I honestly feel for him because like he was like, what is happening? But I was just genuinely kind of outraged at what I was really kind of understanding was like the model of care was bad for everybody, both patients
Yeah.
and providers.
Mm,
Like,
mhm.
no one was getting a good experience or an appropriate experience. And who was actually getting all of it was like the freaking top of the business
Yeah.
that's like bottom line money stuff, right?
Right.
And it's like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? This is healthcare. Like, what are we
Yeah.
doing? Right. And so I was just constantly cutting my up against like red tape. And I was just like, we're doing everything wrong. Like, that was the
Mhm.
overall feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just thinking about, you're mentioning like kind of the emotional experience of anger, right? Of like when
Mhm.
you're going through the deck and being like, no,
Yeah.
I genuinely am so grateful for having connection to emotion when
Yeah.
navigating these things,
Yeah.
because they're information.
Yeah.
They're way better information to get than like a symptom.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
we'll get a symptom later if we miss the
Yeah.
emotion, no
Yeah, let's get the
problem.
emotion first, please, so
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
can actually process that instead of it needing to show up as a
And
symptom.
if we don't worry, we'll get a symptom later. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out. But I'd rather it be that I'm aware of the emotion.
Emotion,
And
yeah.
so if the emotion is anger or resentment or frustration or like what is happening? Like look into that, right?
Mhm.
Investigate that.
Mhm.
And I still do that all the time in my own business, right? I
Yeah.
structure this. Like,
Yeah.
I structure this.
Mhm.
But I'm constantly thinking about how I structure it, right?
Yeah.
And I think for a long time I was just so grateful to be doing the work that I care about. I was like, "Oh yeah, whatever you want." Like, whatever you
Right.
want, right? Whether it's time, whether it is responsiveness, whether it's
Mm.
financial discounts or whatever it is, because I'm so
Mhm.
grateful
Mm.
to be of service, and I
Mm.
am. That's still
Mhm.
true,
Yeah.
right? I also still have needs, and it's a
Right.
bummer.
Yeah, I know. Darn.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I wish it were different. I wish
Yeah.
I was like totally just like, but unfortunately, the work of my life is to allow myself to be a human.
Yeah.
And part of that is like acknowledging, oh, I actually matter too, even though people are suffering.
Yeah. So what started coming up for you in this area? Like as you started coaching and running your own business and, it's just as transparent as you want to be
Mhm.
because, again, like we're human beings, right? So our bodies speak at times. And I'll just share putting myself out there in a more vulnerable way, starting to kind of work in the mind body space very specifically and niching my design business in this space. I view as sort of I think anyone who works in this space is first of all, it's hard work and it's amazing, and it's so fulfilling and rewarding and it is something to be so grateful for. You've learned how to not focus so much on symptoms. You've learned how to integrate this work and get out of fear. But it's really hard in the beginning, I think, to not absorb like all the fear and all the symptom talk when that was something you worked really hard to kind of get away from. I'm just, I guess, sharing that like that was my first experience. Like once I moved into the mind body spaces, I was like, am I ever going to get out of symptoms that keep kind of wanting to pop up because I'm working in an industry that's just all about symptoms? I mean, I had my own learnings, but I'm curious if that came up for you or what other things too, that you
Oh,
started to notice were like, "Oh, I have more healing to do."
absolutely. First of all, like hard relate to everything that you said. So for sure, the first year to maybe year and a half of doing this work, but I want to offer, I almost didn't have an option to figure this out because either I was being a pelvic PT
Mhm.
or I was doing pelvic pain
Yeah.
coaching. Either way, I had to figure out how to be in a space and have my work really surrounded by pelvic pain and chronic pelvic pain and talking about the symptoms I had. So, in a way, I kind of had the sense of like, I have to figure this out or else. But just to that sounds like kind of urgent, but hold on. So, so I for sure used to flare when I would hear anybody talk about their sensations. And just to clarify, I really would like to say I think I've had almost every sensation one can have in their pelvis. like
Me
like
too.
they're like, yeah, they're
Yeah.
like, isn't a sensation? I'm like, oh no, what is that? I'm like, no, oh, yeah,
Yeah,
I had that
yeah,
too. Oh yeah, I had that too. And I'll like
yeah.
forget about them. A client will mention it. I was like, oh yeah, I had that too.
Yeah.
And so the point is, in the beginning, I also didn't recognize how porous my emotional boundaries were. And I really did. I used to call it pathological empathy. But
Mm.
really what it was like no emotional boundaries. And so if someone would
Mm.
have something that they're talking about that's
Mm.
challenging, I literally felt it in my body. right?
Yeah.
And so with symptoms, that too, right? And so it took me some time and like working with my parts and
Yeah.
recognizing like what is me, what is them, right?
Mhm.
And really supporting myself in like creating and sustaining those emotional boundaries in the context of client work. But that took a lot of reps, I'll be so
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
And now I really don't flare up. But the same thing happened with visibility. Gosh, what I'll say, I think about this a lot because me like 5, 7 years ago could not believe that I'm like even doing this. Like the idea of like being seen, being heard, now having a podcast, like the idea of like saying what I think and being authentic online terrified the absolute shit out of me. Like I wanted to just stay hidden and like just like DM some like tips. I was like, leave me in the background and like y'all go heal, right?
Yeah.
And what has been required of me to build the business that I have and support the people in the way I do is to let myself like go through the process, right, of being triggered and like using a lot of self-compassion and then showing up again. And a lot of exposure work and recognizing that just because I have like, I don't know, a crying fit after I come off one of these calls doesn't mean it was the wrong thing to do and that it'll happen every time. And now it doesn't
Mhm.
happen. But the first couple podcasts I went on, I would have this like massive, like, what did I say? Right?
Oh,
Like this
mhm.
fear of like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I messed up
Mm,
or someone was harmed by what I said. That's like the
mm,
big fear is like,
mm,
of like, what if I said something and someone was harmed by what I
mm,
said or
mhm.
felt dismissed by what I said or
Yeah.
felt some negative emotion, right? Like
Mm,
this people pleasing kind of thing, right?
yeah.
Um, but what I've had to work through is allowing people to have negative opinions of me if that's what they have,
Yeah.
right? Like they're allowed to have that. My work is to show up in integrity and speak to my truth and what I know to be true. And people get to decide whether or not they want in.
Yeah.
Right. But that took years, like
Yeah.
years to be able to do that. And letting that be okay. Like letting that be okay that like it took time and people can show up and just be themselves and have no issue. I'm like, good for you. That is not my experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And has I'm sure I know the answer to this, but, like, that skill essentially that you developed with this, like, must have translated into other areas of your personal life too then,
Oh,
right? Like, in
sure.
terms of, like, because once you're visible to the world or to you're putting yourself out there so publicly. And you have to practice those reps of, like, learning to let go of other people's experience of you and their opinion of you and just be like, "Look," like, and just be so grounded and rooted in your truth and your authenticity of, like, "This is me, like, take it or leave it. I know I'm not gonna necessarily resonate with everybody, and it has nothing to do with me. It's just where they're at," you know? It's if they're ready for this information or if they're, who knows, right? Like, it's just everybody has their own experience and we can't control that. Like all we can do is do our best to support.
Yes, and some people may never wanna hear it from me. I
Yeah.
may not be the voice they ever wanna hear it from, and that's
Yeah.
okay. Like,
Yeah.
what I love about our industry, truly, is that more and more people are getting into it, and there
Yeah.
are more and more voices, right? So
Yeah.
if, like, people don't resonate with me or the way that I share and teach and speak, go find someone who does, right? Like,
Yeah.
I really do feel like I'm grateful that I found, like, mentors and people who spoke in the way that I needed to hear it,
Yeah.
right? And it's not my job to manipulate how I say it so that everyone
Yeah.
like gets it from me. They're not going to, and that's okay. But it
Mhm.
took me a long time to get to
Yeah.
that like okay, genuine okayness, not just saying it.
Yeah. And it's so true what you said. Like I can't even honestly imagine if there was only one person that I heard about this from, like or that taught me anything about mind body medicine the whole time. I think at some point, like or at many points, I needed to hear it from somebody that had a different way of saying it. I mean, I needed to hear it from like multiple people at different times in my journey. And sometimes I needed a more compassionate voice. And then there were times where I needed somebody
Mhm.
that was more like tough love, that was like, hey, like, you know, get it together. Like
Yes.
nobody's coming to save you, like, and then sometimes I needed a much more like authoritative, like clinical voice, like somebody like they're a doctor. I love that point you made, because this is why I niched into the mind body space, because there's room for everybody. And everybody here needs their voice and they need their specific brand, because it's going to be needed for people in this space at some point. That's another thing I love about the mind body space is it's very collaborative. It doesn't feel competitive. Thank God. And I think
Yes.
it's just because of all of the healing that everybody in this space has done, that there's not this sort of competitive, urgent energy. I mean, some people maybe I have had clients who maybe like that is coming up for them, and that's something I kind of try to help them work through. Or I have to be really boundaried and be like, I can't work with clients like that because it's just not aligned with what I'm doing. And I know that it's not going to help them get where they want to be
Yeah.
if they're approaching their work from a place of urgency and competitiveness.
Yeah.
Let's more highlight and elevate your authenticity and let that be what's attracting people.
I love that. And to what kind of to your point, I've always thought about the idea of like being a lighthouse, right? Like be
Yeah.
the lighthouse so like that your people can like find you.
Yeah.
And not because the other lighthouses aren't amazing, they
Yeah.
are, right? It's like the people who resonate with you and your message, like
Yeah.
let them find you. Like be you so they can find you. And that's always helped me feel like my job isn't to like look around and be like, what are they doing? And also we're all on the same mission, honest to God. Like
Yeah.
truly my belief is like not enough people. Like if everybody who ever recovered went into this field, that still wouldn't be enough people to help all the people who needed help.
Yep.
And so I truly believe like it will take all of us. And so like let's go. Everybody come
Yeah.
together.
I
Right?
love your lighthouse analogy too, because it made me think about like at some point, in case that somebody's boat just ends up coming closer to yours, you know what I mean? It's like you're there and you're like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm here too. And maybe they got off course, or maybe there was other lighthouses that they visited or whatever. And then they're on their journey and then they're like,
Yes.
I'm getting lost again, or I'm getting off
Yes.
track, and ooh, this lighthouse is bringing me back in.
Totally
Yeah.
love that continuation of the analogy.
Yeah.
And I really do like the idea also of like different people at different times, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that you kind of mentioned the idea, and this resonates with me too, where it's like sometimes you need the really compassionate person. Sometimes you need
Yeah.
the person who's like, get it together, no one's gonna save you. Sometimes
Yeah.
there are the people who are like, I need the hard science again, even though I've heard this 50,000 times. Tell me again why this is real. Tell me
Yeah.
again why this is scientific.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you might want a different style of coaching depending where you're at in your journey.
Mhm.
And that says nothing about like the other person. It's like what you resonated with and needed in that moment is
Mhm.
this thing. And that's what this person does. And
Yeah.
like no shade.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm also curious to know about, are there any other coping mechanisms or things that came up for you? I know we talked about symptoms flaring when things are out of alignment, not like, your truth, hearing people talk about it and then having to have more boundaries around what you're absorbing. We talked about being seen. So visibility,
Mhm.
working through letting go of worrying so much about what people think of you, having that fear, in hindsight, if you said the right things. But what else? What else has come up for you
Oh.
that you can think of?
So the first thing I'll say is I think I didn't understand that I could like cap the number of people that I saw in a day below like 12 people.
So it sounds like
Because
boundaries in general is probably a
boundaries is my
big
biggest.
theme. Yes.
It's still.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's for a variety of reasons, right? Like some of it is like my own security and financial safety, which is like a
Yeah.
very real thing that all business owners have to
Yeah.
consider.
Yeah.
And it's something I didn't really like properly think about so deeply until like relatively recently. But anyway, but even just think about like capacity, like your
Yeah.
capacity to serve, right? And to be present with clients
Mm.
and also like be regulated for them, right? Like
Mhm.
it's not in
Right.
service for the client for me to be like 10 people in and like not listening.
Yeah.
Like that's not in service, right?
Right.
Now I wasn't doing that, but I
Right.
was worried that I would.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so it was like, what would it look like to like think about how many clients really I should be seeing in a day and still feel like good and
Yeah.
present and
Mhm.
not resentful.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Another is really like thinking about if I'm ever on a call and thinking that like, or feeling like I'm performing. I think this
Mm,
used to happen a lot in the beginning when I was like really worried about how it was perceived, obviously.
yeah. Mhm.
It felt like I was on stage
Yeah.
in my sessions and I was like, what's happening here? Like, what's
Yeah.
going on? And getting curious. And I was exhausted after each call. And I was like, oh,
Mm,
I was like highly masking the entire time. And I was
yeah.
like, what does it look like to like be present and connected to the client and show up in service and like listen and not worry about how I'm looking, but like really thinking about being in the experience with them.
Mhm.
And that took quite some time to like
Yeah.
really get that as well.
Yeah. I love that.
What else? Yeah, I mean, just for me personally, like making sure I am like considering my own physical needs,
Mhm.
like working out. I know you lift now, right? I've been seeing
Mhm.
that all over IG. Amazing. I don't film my workouts, but I do work out. And for me, like for my mental well-being, movement is required.
Yeah.
And so making sure that no matter how busy things are clinically, no matter how busy things are like in wherever the business is, like I am moving my body. I
Mhm.
am making sure I'm preparing nourishing food. I am like taking care of my physiological needs before I open my email.
Mhm. Awesome.
And making sure like I'm taking care of me. Also, I have a very strict bedtime with myself. But yeah, just physiological needs being met is huge.
Yeah.
Also prioritizing pleasure, joy, rest, and play. That is still work for me, to be
Mhm.
so honest.
Yeah.
I love my parts, all of them, but my pusher, fixer, like those parts
Yeah.
are like tend to take over. And I do a lot of work with them still to this day and
Mhm.
allowing me to rest and to take breaks and to choose to like read a book for fun and not it be like clinical work. And I
Mm.
love
Mhm.
learning. Like I'm always in
Yeah.
more coursework and I could always be doing that. And so it's like being really mindful of like it's safe to rest. It's safe
Yeah.
to relax. It's safe
Yeah.
to like watch a movie.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of my continued ongoing work.
Yeah. I think that's a very good point that you brought up. Like when you run a business and it's all on you, like the
Mhm.
success of your business and it running and it, yeah, attracting clients, making sure your clients have good experience, coming up with new material that's going to resonate with clients. Like, you're constantly evolving as a business and it's all on you. And I think your nervous system can go into that like place of like it's a lot of pressure, but it can create this experience where I've stepped aside from my desk and been like, okay, it's time to just like hang out now, because I'm at home and I work from home.
Yeah.
And it's like my brain, it's like I work from home and I also am supposed to have like relaxation at home. And sometimes I notice it can be like a hard shift for my brain to kind of do that. And I remember like when I worked for a company, it was like I'd go to work and then I was done when I left work. Like it wasn't on me to keep that business successful. So
Yes.
it was so much easier for my brain to switch gears and go into like fun and relaxation. Like I clocked out and I'm like, yay, like now it's time for fun. And I don't have to think about work and I don't have to worry about anything going okay over there. I'll just worry about that when I'm back there. And, like I'm not carrying the weight of the success of this company. Like I just have my specific tasks that I do and then I leave. And when you run a business, it's so much. I mean, it's everything. It's customer service.
Yes.
It's the success of the business is all on you. But again, it's a great opportunity and like experience to check in with yourself, be aware of yourself. We get to practice this all the time having a business because we have to. Like if we don't, it's so easy to go back into like, wait, because I still work on this too. I
Mhm.
think everybody who runs a business, this is probably something that we continuously have to work on. Where if I'm gonna go rest and yeah, read a book for fun or watch a show or go to it's like there is this uncomfortable feeling sometimes that can come with that where it's like, but I could be doing this for my business that would be keeping it moving forward. I could be doing that. And so I have to be very aware of that part
Yeah.
and kind of be like, yeah, but there's also like other parts that are needing my attention right now.
Yes, hard relate.
Yeah.
And what I want to offer, kind of the thought that came up for me as you were saying that, is one that I've been like reminding myself of when that comes up for me is like, I didn't heal chronic pelvic pain to continue to make my life all about pelvic pain.
Yeah.
And, like, part of it too, right? You're also mission driven. Like, everyone in the space is mission driven.
Mhm.
And so there's an element of, like, this is really important and it is urgent to help people. And that does feel important, right? Like, there's a part
Yeah.
of it is like validating that. Like, it is
Yeah.
important,
Yeah.
right? And also, right, it's safe to slow down.
Yeah.
And also, like, you've done enough.
Yeah.
And so much of this is so similar to, like, the healing journey, right? It's like
Yeah.
you could always be doing things. You could always be doing a practice or
Yeah.
some kind of, like, regulation tool or some
Yeah.
kind of journaling exercise. You could just be doing that all the time. But really, like, how you feel safer is in the in between. Like, when you let yourself, like, slow
Yeah.
down and come down and rest and find safety in the here and now.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I keep telling myself, like, and it is so far been true. Like, if I could figure out healing, I could figure out this.
Yeah.
Like this is more um clear. I could get more specific help with building a
Mhm.
business
Mm.
than I could with my healing, is how it
Mhm.
feels to me.
Mhm.
And listen, I do get help. I get help all the time. And
Mhm.
now, so in my journey, I didn't really have much support. I ended up working with a pleasure coach for 6 months. But I didn't have like a mind body coach I worked with. And now I get coaching all the time. I love my coaches. I love my therapists. I'm like support all day. And
Yeah.
what I want to offer is like one of my biggest regrets, like in my own journey, was not letting myself get support.
Mhm.
And this journey of building a business, right, is really hard in
Mhm.
similar ways to healing.
Yes.
But I'm like, I will never let myself go through something like that ever again and not have support. And so
Yeah.
that's a change that I've made, and I am so grateful. And yes, it's expensive, and yes, I wish it was cheaper. It is what it is. I'm happy to do that to create a different experience for myself. And I literally don't know where I'd be without it.
Yeah. I love that. It's so true. Support is, I think, a huge part of recovery because of just the connection, being seen, um, it's so helpful because when you're in it, and then really what we're learning is how to kind of observe our experience, observe, and be aware of our thought patterns and be aware of our responses to things. And it's really hard to do that. And even in your own business, it blows my mind how much you can use what you've learned to heal and get out of symptoms and now use that to your business and how you're responding to your business and how you're
Yes.
responding to the triggers that come up and all of the things, because it's going to bring those things up. It's going to bring up fear. It's going to bring up, like you mentioned earlier, the very real financial need. Like we need to, unfortunately, we live in a world where we
Unfortunately.
need to earn money so that we can be alive and like feed ourselves and have shelter and all of that stuff. And so these are basic needs as humans. But it can turn into this sort of fear of like, oh no, those same survival protective patterns are going to show up in your business as well.
Yes.
But
A
you can
thousand
also
percent.
be aware of them, and you can also not let them run the show and make all of your business decisions for you. Like you can kind of zoom out and step back and be like, oh, wow, okay, I'm having a lot of fear coming up around, you know, this or that, whatever it is. It could be a financial thing, it could be an interaction with a client, whatever it is. But you can take a step back and become at least like aware of it and name that that's what's happening, and then choose your response from a more like informed place on what's going to be better. And I've found that a lot of running my own business, but also helping my clients with their business, is that same very hard thing to do in recovery, which is to trust the process. It's very hard. It feels like a leap of faith, and it feels like you're blindly walking like on the edge. And but as long as you are practicing the methods, like you will get there.
Yes. 1,000% agree. And just on the leap of faith kind of discussion, I mean, what a business does require is the same thing as healing, which is to believe ahead of time,
Yeah.
right? Is to decide to believe ahead of time.
Yeah.
And what you can control are the inputs. Can't
Mhm.
control the output, right?
Yes.
You're gonna really choose to believe that the inputs are going to give you the result at the end, right?
Mhm.
But you can't
Mhm.
know that ahead of time. And so you have to decide to take action from possibility and hope, right?
Yeah.
And not blindly, right? Like you're getting information from people who like know what they're talking about, hopefully. But at the end, you're going to have to implement without a guarantee.
Yep.
And that is, my parts tantrum about that all the time. I let my
Yeah.
parts tantrum about that all the
Yeah.
time. It's
Yeah.
awful. And also, it's the only way
Yeah.
to do this,
Yeah.
right? And thinking about like the skills of healing that I consistently still use are self-compassion, radical acceptance, outcome independence. All
Yes.
day, every day.
Perfect. I
All day,
love it.
every day,
Yes.
right? And it's like just what's required,
Yeah.
right? And listen, I still process emotions every day. Do I wish I didn't have to? For sure. And also, I know what I need to do, right, to be
Mhm,
well and to be able to build the business that I desire to be
mhm,
working in.
mhm. Yeah.
And so I am grateful for everything I've learned on my healing journey. Like, I could not do this if it weren't for that. If I
Yeah.
didn't, I always say, like, I'm not grateful for my symptoms. They were awful and I wouldn't freaking wish them on anybody. But I am grateful for who I became through my healing.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that version of me is the only version who could have built this business. And I keep
Yeah.
doing the same freaking work. And do I wish it was over? Yes, of course. I also know that it's ongoing forever. I'm not like fighting that. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is part of
Yes.
it. Right.
Yeah.
And so letting that be okay, acknowledging what it is that I need and being grateful that I know, grateful that
Yeah.
I know what I need right,
Yes.
in order to
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
so true. And, oftentimes when I work with clients, even just helping, because I do their branding and I do their design work, and there's a lot that can come up that I notice with clients, who are coaches and expert, and um, there's so many things that can go wrong along the way. And it's almost like I see these things as like little flares, in their business.
Mhm.
It's like a tech issue happens or they launched something and it didn't go the way they thought it would. I mean, there's so
Yeah.
many correlations. And then, but there's this tendency, yeah, sometimes that these old responses to happen of like catastrophizing or going into fear and worry.
Mhm.
Or just getting really frustrated. And that's normal. These, like, again, these emotions are going to come up. That's okay. But it's just sort of staying in this same response that is not helpful. And it's just so interesting to me that, like, if you can really look at these things that come up in your business that are triggering you as symptoms,
Yes.
like, how am I responding? It's the same. And that's why I totally concur with you. Like, I'm not grateful for any of the symptoms I've had because they sucked. But I learned so much about how to work with myself,
Yes.
how to identify what I'm needing, how to be able to step back and be like, whoa, 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 okay, what do I don't think I would have been able to successfully run a business if I hadn't learned about this work. Like, I had the skill set and I'm a determined, ambitious person, but I think there would have probably been a very different energy
Mm.
that people could feel from
Mm.
me that probably wouldn't have been attracting the right people to work with
Yeah,
me,
totally.
if I wasn't aware and I was coming from that more like dysregulated place within my business. But I'm
Yeah.
able to approach it in a more regulated way because of my recovery. And it is a work. It's still something that I ongoing have to do. Like,
Yeah.
it's like hygiene. It's like I have to kind of keep at it. And if I stop being aware and I'm just like, oh, I'm just going to operate totally like from my unconscious mind all the time, like it's not going to, eventually my body will speak or something, or things won't be going the way that I want them to in my business.
Yeah. That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
I also think I wouldn't have started a business if I didn't go through this. Like,
Yeah.
who I was before all of this, go along to get along. Like, if
Yeah.
I didn't know what I know now, like, and it didn't feel incongruent with like my integrity to stay in the field that I got my freaking doctorate in, I I wouldn't have it was too much work. It's too much effort. It's too much scariness to go out and like figure out how to be seen and not freak out and say what you actually think and feel and like not freak out and help people who are struggling and like not make it like yours to fix for them. Like, it's a lot of work,
Yeah.
right? And I would not have done it. I really wouldn't have done it if I hadn't gone through my healing journey and felt
Mm.
so strongly
Mhm.
about this work specifically,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, I often think about that. I'm like, I would have been an employee forever, forever. And now I'm like, I feel unemployable. I'm like, I have too much to say and I have too many things
I totally relate to that.
you know? I'm
Yeah.
too aware of my needs to
Yeah, yeah,
suppress them.
yeah, totally. Now, like, that world feels more scary to me than, like, doing my
Yeah.
own thing because I feel like it would just feel like there would just be so much restriction and just tension and because there's so much I would have to say. There would be so much I disagree with the way things that are operated in a lot of these, like, corporate environments. Like, I
Mhm.
just it's like you know too much now in a way, to where you can kind of go back to that life. And then it's like, okay, so I guess I guess I need to just build from what I've learned and create my own business and my own life because I don't fit into that like anymore and it's not going to work for me. And I love that it is such a beautiful transformation that I see this trajectory of people who are, they become so aware of themselves, they grow so much on their own healing journey. And that, I think, is one of the hardest things to ever do in life is to overcome chronic pain or symptoms and anxiety. Like it's so hard. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of repetition. It's a lot of dedication and commitment and compassion. Like there's so much that goes into getting you there that I feel like it really does just prime you to be like, oh, if I can overcome that, like I can do this. I can run a business. I can like provide for myself. Because you're like, I got myself out of freaking pain. Like I helped myself when like doctors couldn't help me. I helped myself, you just build this confidence, I think, that
Ye
comes. And I love that that's what comes out of it and that it brings people into feeling like I'm ready to now be in complete control of my own life and build my business or have my own livelihood come from that place, I think is so beautiful. It provides a lot of flexibility. My business feels like love for me. It
Mhm.
feels like an extension of who I am. And it's something that I'm so passionate about that, yes, sometimes it still feels like work, but most of the time it just feels like purpose.
Mhm.
And I'm so aligned with that. Like I get genuinely excited about it. Excited to work with people in this space. That was not something I felt when I worked anywhere else prior to this. Like it's just such a different experience.
Yes, I completely agree. And the idea of like purpose and connection and love, right, for the business, I think that's part of why it becomes so hard to like set boundaries with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is like I just want to do this all the time. I
Yeah.
really like a part of me believes I really am my happiest when like connecting with my clients, like creating content for them, doing the podcast, whatever it is that feels like in service, right? And part of that is true, right?
Mhm.
And it's also like, okay, that's awesome. So glad that like purpose is such a massive part of my life, right? And also like, what else is there?
Yeah. Right.
Like what else do you feel like? And I think you have a family, correct? Do you have
Yep.
children? Yes.
Yeah, I have a daughter. Mhm.
Amazing. So like I don't have like a fill in the gap automatic. Like I don't have like a partner, children, whatever, right? So I have to like decide to create a space where I'm doing other things intentionally. No one is like demanding that attention, right? I have a
Right.
cat, Willow, who might demand some attention, but she's a cat. Love her, but she is a cat. And so like I do have to be intentional about recognizing that. Like I could just work all the time if I let
Right.
myself. And so I have to be very cognizant that like I need to make space for more than just this. I
Yeah.
love this so much. I am so grateful for doing this. I
Yeah.
do feel very in my purpose
Yes.
doing it. And also, I have to be very cognizant that it can take over everything.
Yeah.
And just to name also, this used to be my side hustle, right? Like it used to be the thing I did on the side of my clinical work. And
Mhm.
so it used to be like kind of the hobby.
Yeah.
And then it became
Mhm.
like the
Yeah.
whole thing, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so it naturally can fill up all the space
Mhm.
if I'm not careful.
Yeah.
And so I'm having to be mindful
Mhm.
about that
Yeah.
these days.
And that makes sense because I think one of the basic needs we have as human beings is novelty, is having different experiences and things, not just our focus being so narrow on like one thing. I mean, when you have chronic symptoms, like your focus for a good period of time until you learn how to shift your focus elsewhere is very narrow focused on symptoms.
Yes.
And so it's kind of the same thing where it's like, but that doesn't get you better. Like we thrive when we're having our focus is on other things as well. And we're having, other things that we're interested in or other things that are bringing joy and happiness and laughter and fun. That's a basic human need.
Totally.
Like you can't just be, and it could be like the best thing in the world. Like I could be like, I love ice cream and all I'm going to do is eat ice cream now. And it's like, I'm not going to be satisfied. Like life is
Yeah.
going to start to get really small and like very unhealthy for me if I'm only just all the time consuming one thing that I am really into. It's like, you
Yes.
have to have multiple things. You need other things on the menu.
As you're talking about, I'm like, yeah, we need like a diversity of nutrients,
Yes.
right? Like to be well,
Yes.
right? If you think of these inputs as like a diversity of like different nutrients for your holistic wellness
Yeah.
and like life satisfaction, which is like kind of the whole point of everything, right? The healing and the business. Like we want everything to kind of come together to be like, do good work and also live a good life.
Yeah. Yes. And one
Right?
thing I learned too, and kind of more recently actually, is because,
Mhm.
I'm still on a recovery journey. Like I still get symptoms at times. I kind of had
Mhm.
like a wave too. Like I overcame the pelvic pain and then
Mm.
I had like, a whole other perfect storm of things that happened.
Mm.
And so I'm much further along now, but like I'm still working through some things.
Yeah.
And what I've had to kind of realize is, okay, there's like the work of not focusing on my symptoms and making that my life and making healing my life. Great. Like locking that in, doing like I know what to do. That's what I'm doing.
Mhm.
But then I've had to kind of realize that having a business that's in the mind body space, if I'm not aware and careful, can become another avenue to become locked in on healing
Totally.
in a more maybe subconscious way. Because
Yeah.
now it's like, okay, well, I'm not focusing on it so much like directly with myself, like how, but now I've made my life is still kind of about healing because my work
Yeah.
is about healing.
Yeah.
And so I've had to be very kind of boundaried with that, where I'm making sure that how much am I actually really thinking about it, talking about it from that lens of like healing versus like how much time am I spending where I'm zoning out, I'm listening to music and I'm just like branding somebody, and that to me doesn't feel like I'm focusing on healing work.
Totally. That makes so much sense. And I think you saying like thinking about it. I'm like, oh yeah. like if we let our brains go, right? Like the thinking about it. Like
Yes.
that can take up so much
Hmm.
um mental capacity, right? And we were like, oh, we're not doing the thing. We're not trying to fix it. But if your brain is like marinating in it.
Yeah. Because you're still telling the brain like this is so important, right? So
Totally.
then it's like, ooh, okay. Like I've had to kind of realize like, am I teaching it that healing is so important? Maybe when I'm not working, I'm not focusing on like healing and fixing, and I'm just really present and engaged in my life.
Yes.
But there's
Yes.
just this awareness I've had to have around even like launching this YouTube channel,
Yes.
like being boundaried where it's like, look, I'm only gonna do like 1 or 2 videos a week where I'm really talking about this stuff. And then the rest of the time it's more just design work, my business.
Mm.
Because, there's going to be all these comments coming in. There's people that are wanting to message me and interact. And then it's like,
Mm.
well, now I'm really focusing on that again. Now, my business is a
Mm.
design business. Yours is literally helping people who are healing. So I'm
Yes.
curious, like, if that was something that you had to kind of navigate and how you navigated that.
Just to clarify your question, the kind of like the comments and the people coming at you asking questions, is
Yeah.
that what
And
you're
like
asking? Mhm.
that, and also kind of just this general idea of like, okay, I taught my brain that these symptoms they're
Yeah.
not the main focus in my life.
Mhm.
There's so many other things that are important.
Yes.
So that obviously helps deactivate them, right? That
Yes.
helps them become unlearned.
Yes.
How do you unlearn that, but then still spend your job
Mhm.
communicating about it? And it is
Yeah.
something that is really important.
You
To
know
where
what's
your brain
interesting?
isn't gonna
I
get that message
totally
of,
hear
"Oh, this
you.
is important, let's kind of keep doing that."
You know what's interesting? I was thinking of this actually just earlier today because someone had DM'd me asking a question about, um, asked me if I was in remission. And I've heard the word remission kind of thrown around. People
Yeah.
use all kinds of words. They say recovered,
Yeah.
remission, healed, whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I personally don't resonate with the word remission.
I'm just gonna say I
I
hate that
personally
word because
don't
it feels medical and
and
it's like, "Oh, you're temporarily okay."
exactly. It feels like a looming threat, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
feels like at any moment it could just come
Yes,
back.
it could come back, yeah.
And in a sense, like, sure, like any symptom can come up anytime, right? In a way, like, yes, that's true. And also, I have worked so deeply on truly disidentifying from having chronic pelvic pain.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of it. Like
Yeah.
my system does not believe I have chronic pelvic. Like I truly don't believe I have it. I've done a lot of work to like temporarily time time separation, whatever the word is. Me present day, me past me who had symptoms.
Yeah.
Like I can talk about this all day every day
Yep.
and know in my like full body that is
Mhm.
not my current reality.
Mhm.
And so I understand, I have compassion, I have empathy, all these things, but truly my system isn't worried.
Yeah.
It's not worried that
'Cause
it can
you've
just
just
come
the
back.
fear is completely resolved.
Like
That
truly,
makes sense.
truly
Yep.
authentically not there, right?
Makes
And
sense,
if
yeah.
it were to come back tomorrow, again, I'm not saying I'll never have symptom again. I totally could. I say I get like a once a year symptom when I haven't been doing my my
Yeah.
emotional work.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not a problem.
Yeah.
I don't consider it like chronic illness. I don't say it's a chronic
Yeah.
pelvic pain condition. I'm like, people get a headache once a year. They don't have chronic headaches.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
so I truly, it is a non-issue. I do not resonate with the identity of having chronic pelvic pain. So it's not a problem for me. I talk
Mhm.
about this all day, every day. Does that make
Amazing.
sense?
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yes. But back to the questions about like messages and comments and
Yeah.
DMs. I am still working on my experience of that. I will say I'm not very engaged in comments and DMs. I often direct people to a consultation, which is a paid call, because I really do a deep dive. Like, I don't know how to do a little bit of help.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do like, like
Yeah.
if you want tips and tricks, look at my Instagram. I have a podcast. You can listen to me there.
Mhm.
If you want information, you don't need to pay me anything. Like you can just get information from the
Yes.
internet, right?
Yes.
Um, if you want my specific guidance and support, that is a paid offer,
Yeah.
right? And so I've had to be pretty strict with my boundaries around that. And
Yeah.
so in the very beginning, I felt very obligated to
Mm.
respond to everyone's questions, everyone's comments, and people
Mhm.
would DM me their whole life story in the DMs. I thought
Yeah.
I had to respond to it because also it's very sad. Like
Yes.
people have like, and it's like, how do you get someone's trauma story in your DMs and then not respond to that? Right. That
Yeah.
was like, I was like,
Oh,
what a terrible
yeah.
person I would be.
Right.
And in a way, it's tricky on social
Mhm.
media because people can have access to you in a way that like they couldn't in a
Mhm.
clinical environment,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And so I've had to do a lot of kind of questioning, like, what are my boundaries? What do I do, not do in the DMs, in comments? Where do I direct people to get more levels of support? And and really, like, I no longer feel guilty about it. Like I used
Yeah.
to have to just feel the guilt, right? And let that be okay,
Mhm.
right? Because that's part of the process, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
now I'm like, no, here are all the free ways you can get help. And if you
Right.
want my specific guidance and support, you can book a call.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and probably a lot of that, like, I relate to that too, and I think a lot of it comes from that understanding of, like, if I were to do that, if I were to engage in every single DM or comment that I got in, like, a more thoughtful way and something that was taking up much time, it's actually draining me from being able to serve people the way that I know that I really can,
Yes.
which is producing content that's going out or just designing for people who are helping people in that very
Yes.
direct way.
Yes.
Like, that has more impact at
1000%.
large than me zeroing in on, like, responding to one person that's messaging me, and that's the mission. So it's like it's
Yes.
yeah. So I think
Heart
keeping that in check, it's, like, important.
Absolutely. Hard relate. Thinking about like I've had to do a lot of like kind of assessments of like where my energy leaks, right?
Yeah.
If I want to be able to really serve my people and really get the
Mhm.
message out there and really like create content that I really feel serves people. And again, I'm showing up fully to my client sessions. Where are the energy leaks? Where is stuff going out? And I'm like feeling drained for the stuff that really matters.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that for me is a leaky bucket.
Yeah. Well, it can be very quickly too because,
Yes.
people are in fight or flight and there's this urgent energy
Yes.
that comes in with the comments
Yes.
and the DMs. Oh, I feel so bad if I don't respond. Like, I'm terrible. I mean, this person's in crisis. And then I've had to kind of zoom out and realize like I'm only one person and I'm not, as much as I can still have empathy and compassion for this person, but I also can hold empathy and compassion for myself and what I need to be able to keep moving forward in the way that I know is going to have impact.
Yes.
And that
1,000%.
that realization has really helped me. That emotion of guilt just isn't coming up as much because I'm like, I am doing enough.
I love that thought. I'm doing enough. I'm also practicing that thought.
Yeah.
Hard agree on all of that. I also want to offer what also helped me kind of feel less guilt or obligation to respond to everybody is if people are truly in crisis, a, a comment or DM from me
Yeah.
is not the place for them.
Right.
That
It's
is
not.
not
Yeah.
truly in service of the level of support that they need.
Yes. Yep.
And so it's both draining me and not truly supportive for them.
Yeah.
And they may not agree, and that's okay. Like, but
Yeah.
from like my clinical perspective,
Yeah.
that is not appropriate,
Right.
right? And so
Yeah.
just recognizing like what is mine, what is theirs, and like, is this really in service for them? And people aren't going to like it, right? And
Yeah.
also part of this work as, being a practitioner in the space is letting people be mad at you,
Yeah.
which took me a long time. And again, my intention is never to make a client mad, right? It's not my intention. And it's also okay if they are, right?
Yeah.
And recognizing that like it's safe for them to have negative emotion, right? With whatever it is that I'm saying. And we can make space for like repair, right?
Yeah.
If that is what's required.
Mhm.
But like again, me 10 years ago would have never been able to have the capacity, right? To experience the possibility of saying something and making someone mad or upset,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
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 So
I really relate to that
hmm,
for sure. I will turn down like good income if it's not aligned for me or if there's something that doesn't feel healthy or
yes.
positive in that working relationship. And even just to say very transparently, if there's somebody who is like kind of wanting to rip off somebody else or use their branding and kind of take it and copy somebody too much, that has come up where I've
Mm,
had to say, ooh, that's not servicing you. Kind of like when you're working with somebody who has symptoms, there's certain things that aren't going to be of service for them that they're asking you to do for them.
yes.
And it's the
Yes.
same from a branding and design standpoint, where it's like if somebody's wanting me to do something where I'm like, but this isn't going to actually help you. It's not going to help you stand out. It's also going to potentially harm this other person in this space that I've worked with and helped
Yes.
support in their
Yes.
growth with their business.
Yes.
This is not aligned. And I've had
Yes.
to have that hard conversation and turn away projects. I think it comes so easy to me now to be able to just set that boundary or say no and turn people away. And I think 10 years ago, that would have felt so uncomfortable. Like I
Yes.
just would have been mortified or something, or like I would have felt like I'm passing up this opportunity or like I'm a bad person or it's not my place or like there was just all this other narrative that was attached to it. Whereas now I can see the truth, which is like, I'm staying in my integrity and
Yes.
this feels good.
Totally. What I'm hearing from you is like clarity on like what is and isn't for you. And like
Yeah.
some money is not worth it. Some money
No.
like really is not like it's like no, this actually isn't what I do or will do. And yes, of course, like it's always painful as a business owner to have loss of income and also truly more aligned clients are coming.
Yes. That's
Like
that's the
like,
belief. If
that
there's
has to be the
time,
belief.
yes, for
Mhm.
sure. And it's been proven like time and time again, like because it's just a natural part of having a business. There's times where things are really great from an income perspective. And then there's times where you're kind of going into maybe a little bit of a slower period and things are
Mm,
kind of, different. Um, but and I used to in the very beginning get worried and freak out and have all this
of course.
fear because I'm like, "Oh my god, I have a mortgage, I did it," and I'd kind of get into the future. But now I've just built so much trust and I'm able to stay in the present and know that time and time again, when that happens, and this is what I love to always tell my clients as well that I work with, that's where that trust comes in. Like, It's the same as recovery.
I was gonna say,
You cannot see those neural pathways, those new neural pathways that are forming, but that doesn't mean that they're not. And in your business, if you've been planting seeds and you're watering them, like you're going to have times where it appears like nothing is happening and you just have to be patient. And there's going to be times where you feel like it's not working or maybe like you planted a seed and that plant died and then it's like, oh no, I don't have any more plants, and it's like, but there
yeah,
are other seeds and like we just need to remember like what we're watering and where
yeah,
and trust that it will come. Like you will attract the right people. It's happened enough times in my business and my clients' businesses that I've worked with that I just know now that it's like some universal law. Like it just happens. You just have to trust that it will happen. It really will. And
yeah.
now if there is something like that that happens in my business where something kind of falls away for a little bit or
Mhm.
whatever, yes, there's that initial first kind of like, ooh, that's not great. Like, now what? Right.
Yep.
But I'm able to just be like, oh, you've been here before. This
Yes.
has happened many times. Now there's space for so many other things, which is great. That's the novelty. That's good for me.
Yes. Yes. I relate to that so much, of course. The idea of like trusting that the thing is going to come, right? And
Mhm.
that like part of it is what you're talking about is accumulating evidence, right? This is what we do on
Yeah.
the healing journey, where it's like,
Yeah.
I've been
So
here
many correlations.
before.
Yeah.
I've been here before.
Yes.
I navigated it last time.
Yeah.
I can do it again,
Yep.
right? And every time I'm here, I think it's not going to happen. And then it does.
Yeah.
And then I'm fine, right? Like,
Yes.
and it's like you just build that self-trust muscle,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And it happens through living through the experiences, right? And we all want a different way. We all want like a guarantee that like now it's smooth sailing from here on out. Healing
Yeah.
is linear, business growth is linear. Like
Yeah.
would love that for everybody, right? It is unfortunately almost never how it happens.
No.
And so we just have to know that, like, again, my phrase that I keep saying to myself on the journey, healing journey and business journey is like, this is part of it. Like, this is
Yeah.
part of it. And
There's
like,
Yep.
nothing has gone wrong.
Right.
Nothing's gone
There's so many
wrong.
correlations, really. I mean, it takes time. It's all the same. It's like essentially whatever you're practicing, whatever you're putting effort into. It could be learning an instrument, it could be getting out of chronic pain, it could be running a business. Like it's the time, it's the repetition, it's
Mhm.
the showing up authentically, it's the self-compassion, it's the patience. Like that's what gets you where you want to go. Always. No matter what it is that you're doing in life.
Yes. And in the same way that, like, the only way out is through,
Yeah.
right? It's like there's no way around getting the reps. You're
Yeah.
going to be bad before you're good.
Yeah.
And you're gonna like learn about it maybe 50 times before you actually implement it and then
Yeah.
try it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like that is like what the journey looks like.
Yeah.
And like taking brave, uncertain action is just like what's required
Mhm.
in these like parallel journeys
Yes.
of like healing and building a business.
Yes. Yep. Totally agree. I had so much fun talking to you about all of this. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people who work in this space and even just people who are recovering and maybe further along in their recovery and they're considering like maybe this is something I want to do. Once you learn about this and you become passionate about it, it feels like just this very, for a lot of people, direct way to kind of build a career or their purpose. Doesn't mean you have to by any means. But I personally hope that more and more of those people come into this space. They are welcome here. It's a beautiful community of people who are helping others. And I love connecting with people like you. And it's just so rewarding. So it's a very fun environment to be in and to work in. It's like you said earlier in this episode, we need more people who are helping other people heal. Like there aren't enough. This is like a big movement that needs more attention because there's certainly a lot of people who are suffering and struggling and need that kind of support.
Yes, yes, Whitney, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Truly, this was so fun to chat
Yes.
through all of this. I don't always get to talk so much about like life now and business now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But truly so fun. I
Yeah.
also want to offer, like, I truly tell everyone, no one is obligated to do this. Like, if
Of
you
course.
want to heal and never look back, that is okay.
Yes.
And also,
Yes.
as Whitney said, if you do feel called, if you do feel like it is part of your purpose, if it does feel like work that like is calling you in the
Yeah.
world, it is incredibly fulfilling
Yeah.
and, like, truly fun. I know that can sound crazy when you're in the middle of it, but, like, it really is, on the other side, fun, and
Yeah.
you can bring in that, like, levity and belief in your clients, and there is, like, nothing better than that, honestly.
Yeah.
And so just offering, like, no obligation,
Yeah.
but if you wanna come join us, it's a great time over
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. If you are feeling called to it, I think there's sort of something that just happens, at least this was my experience and a lot of people I work with. It's almost like there is no choice. It's like, this is a
Yeah.
calling and I just have to do this. And there's so much clarity and you just go into that. So like, if you're one of those people,
Yes.
welcome.
Yes. You're in good company.
We have open arms. We understand how you feel and
Yes.
it's very rewarding and fun.
Totally.
Thank you so much for coming. And I hope that people enjoyed this episode. Please give us a like and be sure to subscribe so you stay up to date on more episodes. Thank you, Rachel.
Bye, thank
Bye.
you.